Using the tabular guide by Dr. Mirna R. Patino, we will make a compare and contrast of 3 research papers from Technological University of the Philippines, Cavite, namely, first, Test Anxiety, a study of selected first-year students, which was conducted by BTTE students and presented in March 2014.
Second is the internal locus of control in students' motivation in chemistry, presented by BSI students on October 2012.
And the last one is Mathematics and Science Achievement, a comparative analysis by Hanlon S. conducted by BTTE students in October 2011.
The 3 research papers include title page, approval sheet, acknowledgement, abstract, table of contents, and list of illustrations in their preliminary pages. In title page, they use the same format. Although it's counted as Roman numeral 1, the number didn't appear on the page except from the first research paper. Upper and lower casing, single spacing, and centered text format. The title of the research on top, names of the researchers on the middle, and department, school name and address, and date it was presented on the bottom. In terms of counting the words involved in the title of each research paper, they all consist of 9 words.
In approval sheet, only the third research didn't specify the name of the chairperson and members, just their signatures.
In acknowledgement, the first and second research papers had both mentioned the following persons' institutions. First is the subject professor, second, research advisor, 3, persons that provided the facilities equipment, 4, the students or the respondents, 5, researchers, parents, classmates, and friends, while the third research paper didn't mention the number 3 and 4, but all in all, they have the same format. Double spacing, centering, and capitalizing the term acknowledgements, indenting the body of the text, and using the initials of the researchers as the signatures.
In abstract, they all had a clear overview of the study, including the research problem, sample, methodology, finding, and recommendations. The first research paper contains 283 words, the second contains 324 words, and the third contains 370 words. They follow the standard given in the tabular guide, which is up to 250 words. Their format was also the same: double spacing, centering, and capitalizing the term abstract, and use only 2 pages.
In table of contents, they also follow the same format, centering and capitalizing the term table of contents. The pages before and after the body of research were included, uppercasing the chapters, double spacing, item numbers were aligned on periods, and item page numbers were aligned at the right margin.
In list of illustrations or tables and figures, they also followed the same format, centering and capitalizing the title, double spacing, item numbers were aligned on periods, and item page numbers were aligned at the right margin. The term figure or table were appearing above the item numbers, and the term page were appearing above the item page numbers.
The research papers include introductory paragraph, background of the problem, statement of the problem, significance of the study, and scope and delimitation. In the introductory part, only the third research paper was able to elaborate specifically the details on each part of the said chapter.
In the background of the problem, keywords were abound that will subsequently be used again in Chapter 2. They also specified the reference or source of the definitions and the other not owned statements. The paragraphs involve the summary of unresolved issues, conflicting findings, social concerns or educational, national or international issues, and lead to the next section, the statement of the problem. Thus, they all began on starting the international macro relation to their topic. Next, the national context, and then the local micro.
In the statement of the problem, they all began with writing the general statement of the whole problem, followed by the specific questions or sub-problems into which the general problem is divided. Here, the readers can identify the numbers of variable being studied. The first and second research papers has only one variable each, while the third has two variables. That's why the first and second listed only one specific problem, while the third listed three specific problems.
In significance of the study, they identified the beneficiary sectors of their conducted research. They all included the teachers, parents, students, and school administrators. But the third research paper also included the future researchers. The contribution to the body of knowledge was described and summarized who will be able to use the knowledge to make better decisions, improve policy, or other uses of the new information.
Lastly, the scope and delimitation, where they included the weaknesses of the study beyond the control of the researcher. The three research papers indicated the specific number of respondents that will answer truthfully and accurately to the questions based on their personal experience, and that participants will respond honestly and to the best of their individual abilities. They also include the geographical location and other pertinent numerical data. Thus, they all answered the 5 W's and H questions.
After reading the different researches, the three researches have the same format, which is a short introduction to the chapter, definition of terms, theoretical framework, and conceptual framework.
All of the researches have figures that shows conceptual framework of the research itself. Well written, and all of the researches are complete with references that enables the reader to understand the terms that can be commonly seen along the research. Each research defined the terms well and made sure that the research title itself would have the related literature covered.
Part, all of the researches vary when it comes to the research design. They are descriptive qualitative, descriptive, and casual comparative, respectively. On the research about handedness, it is not defined what kind of sampling method is used in this chapter.
The three researchers choose the day program students of Technological University of the Philippines, Cavite. Surprisingly, they choose the same cluster which composes of AET, MPET, PPET students, but they differ in years conducted.
The three researchers also managed to survey 80% of the total population of the said cluster. In this chapter, they managed to explain clearly how they will treat the data gathered, instruments to be used, procedures, and statistical treatment. They also use the program SPSS, but they vary in the versions used. They use this program in order to ease the treatment of gathered data.
The three research papers start this chapter with introductory paragraphs, analysis and interpretations of data of the variable 1, variable 2, and correlation of the two variables are presented in tables and figures. The results of the variables in three research studies match with the statements mentioned in chapter 2. The three research studies start this chapter with introductory paragraphs. The summaries of the research papers are complete by having statements for the problem, theory, hypothesis, research design, sample, instruments, and statistical treatment. In research number 2, the statement about the research design comes first before the hypothesis, and the theory is stated without a brief description of it.
The findings of the research studies are presented in numeric. The conclusions are in adjective file or descriptive form. The findings and conclusions follow the order of the problem in chapter 1.
The sectors addressed in recommendation of research number 3 are all mentioned in significance of the study. Research 1 and 2 address sector future researchers in recommendations but not mentioned in the significance of the study.
The 3 research papers include bibliography or references and appendices in their concluding pages. In bibliography or references, the research papers listed all the works they have referred with full bibliographical details. The entries appeared alphabetically by author and within each author's list chronologically in order of writing. In the appendices, the first and the third research paper include 5 appendices only, while the second research includes 9. They are all the same in including the sheets of requests for panel defense and report in the oral examination 1 and 2 in this part. Generally, the 3 research papers almost follow the format indicated in the tabular guide. In terms of physical attributes, they all use the standard margin, left is 1.5 inch and top, bottom, right are 1 inch. The typeface is Bookman Old Style and the text is double spaced. Also, the chapter headings and subheads are consistent and there is a minimum of 3 lines of space between of chapter heading and the start of the first paragraph. The pages preceding the main body use Roman numerals for page numbers and the standard Arabic numbers used to number the main body of the research paper.